All praise, glory, and honor is most certainly to the Most High Elohim and the patriarchs Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And I want to say peace to each and every one of you in the name of the Son, Yahushua HaMashiach, who we know as Jesus Christ. It's always a blessing each and every single time that I can come before you to bring a message contained in His Word, and never thought kind of that's a light thing to do so. All right, brothers and sisters, in today's message, I come to you just prior to January 1st, right, or what we would consider, or many consider, the Western world considers, New Year's Day. And this is a day, this is a jovial occasion. It pretty much wraps up those winter pagan holidays, beginning with like Halloween and going to Thanksgiving and going to Christmas, and then you have the countdown to what we would call, or many call, the New Year. Well, the question is this the New Year based on what's written in the Bible? And the answer clearly is no. When it comes to something new, whether you're talking about a day or whether you're talking about a year, when it comes to the Lord, you can actually see a difference. For example, a day, when there's a new day, the day, according to the Bible, it says in the evening and the morning with the first day. The day begins in the evening. Okay, where you literally see a change in the day. You know, when that sun is setting, you know you that's the start of a new day. It's not at 12 a.m. There's nothing new at 12 a.m. Right? So that's every day. Now, when you're talking about a year, the year is not new on January 1st at 12 p.m. or 12 a.m. You know, what you see is the newness begins in what we would call the spring. Okay? So now I want to read something to you here. And this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, a dictionary of arts, sciences, and general literature, on page 568. It says January, the first month in our present calendar, consists of 31 days. This is from 1888, by the way, this reference. It says, it is, however, not the first month of the year in the British Isles till the reformation of the calendar was made in 1752, when the legislature, an act passed in the preceding year, altered the mode of reckoning time from the Julian to the Gregorian style. So you had the Julian calendar, who they had to change, and Pope Gregory came and changed that. At this period, it was directed that the legal year, which had commenced in some parts of the country on March 25th, and in others with January, should thenceforward be appointed to begin always on the 1st of January. January, now notice where January comes from. January derives its name from the god Janus, who had two faces looking in opposite directions. And Macrobius states that it was dedicated to him because from its situation, it might be considered to be retrospective to the past and prospective to the opening year. So this is where you get this from. This January 1st. This is the two-headed God looking in the past and looking in the future. The consecration of the month took place by an offering meal, salt, frankincense, and wine, each of which was new. On the first day of this month, all amenities were suspended. Presents were exchanged, councils installed, etc. The principal festivals now observed in this month are the following. January 1st, New Year's Day. Feast of Circumcision, January 6th, Epiphany, 12th day, and January 25th, Conversion of St. Paul. Okay, so this is where you get this day from. It is based on a pagan deity. If you really think about it, because if you look at the days and the actual names of the days, you understand that something is off. For instance, September is the 9th month, but Sept means 7. October, or you can go backwards. The month we're in now is the 12th month, but Dec means 10. November is the ninth month, or the 11th month, but Nov means 9. October, you go on and on. It's the 10th month, but Oct means what? It means 8. Sept means 7, but it's the 9th month. So what is going on? Well, the reality is that when it comes to the Lord's months or year, you could see a difference, and it's not. So it doesn't mean that it begins in January. It actually begins, and in what we call the spring. This is Exodus, the 12th chapter, and verse 1. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you." Now, when you read in Exodus, the 12th chapter, this is the institution of the Passover, the Pesach. And when does the Passover fall? It falls around the time of March and April, during the time of spring, during the time of the new year, when things are new in nature, things are renewed. So now that's the time, and he gives you a name for this. This is Exodus 13 and verse 1. It says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Sanctify unto me all the firstborn, whatsoever openeth the womb of the children of Israel, both of man and of beast, it is mine. And Moses said unto the people, Remember this day in which he came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. For by strength of hand the Lord brought you out from this place. There shall be no leavened bread be eaten. There shall no leavened bread be eaten." Then he says in verse 4, "This came ye out in the month Abib." Okay, so what is Abib? If you ever look it up, Abib is the first month in the Hebrew calendar, and it means green. Okay, so this is when things are renewed, and this is around the time of March and April. Deuteronomy 16 chapter. Deuteronomy 16 and verse 1 reads, "Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night." So when they were coming out of bondage, while in bondage, they had a whole different system. They were dealing with what the Egyptians gave them, just like many of us have dealt with what these Europeans gave us. But when you look at the book, he has a whole different calendar. And so why is that significant? Because just like this, this begins a new year and ends kind of like these winter pagan festivals leading into this new year where you're going to have some more pagan festivals. It's important that you know when his new year starts so that you can keep his feast. And why are his feasts important? Let's go to Colossians. Why is his feast important? This is Colossians chapter 2. And he says in verse 16, "Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink or in respect of an holy day or of the new moon or of the Sabbath days." Okay, so some would say, well, he's talking about it. Don't let anybody judge you if you observe these pagan days. That's not what he's saying. Because he says, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. Because you must know when the new year begins, because in this new year, in the month of Abib, is when you have the start of these feasts, these annual feasts. You read about Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and they begin with the Passover, which takes place on the 14th day of the first month at even. And so with that, brothers and sisters, like so many other things, we need to abandon them. We need to abandon false worship. We need to abandon these days. We need to acknowledge what the Most High has given us, because when you understand, again, this is important, you understand when the first month comes in, because in this first month, you're going to have the start of his feast. And these are a shadow of things to come. They outline the plan of salvation for man. Just to give you a quick rundown of that, the Passover, they had to take a lamb, a perfect lamb, without blemish and without spot, and slay it in even. Christ is our Passover. And they had to come up under the blood of that lamb. So we must come up under the blood of Christ. They walked out of Egyptian bondage on the 15th day of the first month at even, the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And that Feast of Unleavened Bread represents the Lord's law being in your mouth, uncut, unadulterated. That's what we need to walk out of bondage to sin in newness of life. That's what we need to do. Next, you have the first fruits. We understand that first fruits points to Christ. It says Jesus Christ, first fruits, they that are Christ at his coming. We read that in Paul's writings. And so First Corinthians, the 15th chapter. So what is Pentecost point to? It points to those who are baking with leaven. In other words, those who have sinned. He has paved the way for us to be resurrected. Then you also after that you have what? You have the memorial of the blowing of trumpets. And what is the significance of a trumpet? The significance of the trumpet is that the trumpet indicates the going to war, the gathering of the people, the coming of the Lord. all these things that he's going to do when he returns. He's coming back at the sound of a trumpet. He's going to gather his people at the sound of a trumpet. He's going to make war at the sound of a trumpet. You're going to have even the resurrection, which is a gathering. He's going to gather his people, Israel, from the north, south, east, and west at the sound of a trumpet. But he's also going to gather his in the first resurrection into the family of Elohim, and you'll be what he is. That is at the sound of a trumpet. You also have the Day of Atonement, which signifies what Christ did, how he reconciled us back unto the Father through what he has done, because he laid down his life. He is our atonement. Therefore, we can have peace again with the Father, a peace that was disturbed with our sin, with our transgressions. And finally, you have tabernacles, which is memorial and prophetic, and memorializes the gathering of Israel into the wilderness out of Egyptian bondage as they dwelt in booths. He's going to regather his people again, not from Egypt, but from all nations in which they have been scattered, into the wilderness once again. And then you have the 8th day of that same feast, which points to the shedding of this tabernacle and the time in which there is no more flesh and blood. A time where there will be a God and Elohim. Everybody will be Elohim. He said, I said ye are Elohim, children of the Most High, Elohim. That's what he made us to be. And there will be a time where there will be no more flesh and blood, where the Father and the Son will dwell here on this earth. And there will be only spiritual beings. And that is the manifestation of the adoption of the sons of Elohim. This is what will take place. But if you don't know what month it is, you don't understand what feasts he has, and therefore you don't understand when to observe them or what they point to. It is important that we deal with what thus saith the Lord. And with that, brothers and sisters, it's always my prayer that you will edify.